But what if that darkness is not out there? What if it's inside you, silent, repressed, whispering beneath your best intentions? Most people believe they must create their purpose through effort, talent, vision. But Jung's work points in another direction. You don't create your purpose. You uncover it, and it's hidden in the places you least want to go. You've been taught to shine, to smile, to succeed, to become someone. But what about the parts of you that don't want to become anything at all? What about the part that sabotages every goal? That avoids responsibility? That secretly envies, resents, lashes out, or dreams in symbols too wild to explain? That part, Jung said, is not a mistake. It is not evil. It is your shadow. And the shadow is not just where your flaws hide, it's where your unlived life waits. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. There is no true purpose without confrontation, no healing without dissent, and no wholeness without shadow. Your shadow forms from the very beginning. As a child, you were wild and full of instincts. You were angry when wronged, sad when ignored. You were proud of your brilliance and loud in your curiosity. But then the world taught you to hide. It punished your anger. It dismissed your sadness. It shamed your boldness and prized your compliance. So you buried what didn't earn you love. What you disown doesn't disappear. It waits. It moves from your conscious life into your unconscious mind. And there it becomes the shadow self. It still acts, but from behind the curtain. You see it in others and judge them. You feel it rise in moments of stress, like a sudden outburst or an inner scream. It dreams in symbols while you sleep. It projects onto strangers, lovers, children, even enemies. It waits for you to notice. Not to defeat it, but to see it. Your purpose begins here. Not with what makes you comfortable, but with what makes you flinch. Because the dark side of your personality isn't just destructive, it's also creative. The rage you repress might hold the boundary you need. The envy you deny could point to a path you abandoned. The shame you carry might guard your most precious truth. The shadow is a tight passage, a narrow door whose painful constriction no one is spared who goes down to the deep well. And so we descend. There is no shortcut. There is no bypass. And despite what modern spiritual trends may promise, there is no healing without hell. The descent into the unconscious is an act of bravery. Not to drown in it, but to reclaim what you've lost. The world wants you to wear a mask. Jung called this your persona. It's the part of you that learns to function in society, to be polite, useful, attractive, appropriate. But the persona is not your soul. It is the role you perform. And the more you invest in the mask, the more the shadow will haunt you. Your true self is not a mask. It's a paradox, a whole made of opposites, light and dark, order and chaos, hero and shadow. So, what does this mean for your purpose? It means you don't find your path by becoming more perfect. You find it by becoming more whole. The more of yourself you recover from repression, the more energy you regain. And purpose is not given by the world. It is revealed through your integration. The shadow is the key, not the enemy. The shadow is not against you. It is the part of you that wants to live, but has been banished. And it will wait there, in your dreams, your irritations, in the faces of the people who trigger you, until you finally ask, what is this darkness trying to teach me? Only then do you begin. There is a reason most people never meet their true self. It's not because they're weak, it's because they're afraid. And fear is the guardian of transformation. Carl Jung did not romanticize the journey inward. He did not claim that exploring the shadow would make you feel good. He said the opposite, that it would undo you, break you apart, before it ever makes you whole. No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. And that is the terrifying truth. We all want growth, but we do not want to descend. We want wisdom without suffering, clarity without crisis. We want the treasure without the dragon. But in Jungian psychology, there is no real healing without the confrontation of opposites. And your purpose, your true purpose, emerges from this confrontation. You are not here to transcend the human condition. You are here to endure it, witness it, and transform through it. To descend is not to fall apart randomly. It is to allow your illusions to die so something deeper can be born. This process Jung called individuation, the integration of your unconscious contents with your conscious personality. It is not becoming better. It is becoming yourself. When you descend, you begin to feel the chaos within you. You may feel despair, depression, rage, confusion, not because something is wrong with you, but because something hidden is speaking for the first time. This is the voice of the unconscious, long silenced, now demanding to be heard. Jung called this phase enantiodromia, the emergence of the opposite, when the repressed flips into expression, when the nice person becomes consumed with hidden rage, when the successful person begins to sabotage themselves. When the spiritual person feels a return of base, primal instincts, it feels like madness. But it is not madness, it is the healing crisis. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. But this crisis is the crucible. It is the space where you finally meet the parts of you that you banished and ask them why they were sent away. This is shadow work. And it is not simply journaling. It is not a spiritual hobby. It is a death and a rebirth. Shadow work is the courage to feel what you've numbed, to admit the resentment you buried under politeness, to acknowledge the ego in your altruism, to face the fact that your suffering might not just be circumstantial, but self-generated by the parts of you that you've left unloved. This is not self-blame. It is self-responsibility. And there is nothing more powerful, because once you name your shadow, it loses its grip. Once you invite it into the light, it becomes your guide. The descent is also your liberation. In the underworld of the psyche, you find forgotten tools. Anger becomes courage. Lust becomes creative fire. Envy becomes clarity of desire. Grief becomes wisdom. What once ruled you unconsciously becomes available as conscious power. But here's the paradox. You do not integrate your shadow by indulging it. You integrate it by dialoguing with it. Jung's work was filled with internal conversations, with figures from his dreams, fantasies, visions. He let his unconscious speak, and he listened. If a voice of cruelty rose within him, he didn't shut it down. He asked, "Who are you? What do you want? What am I not seeing?" This inner dialogue is not madness, it is intimacy with the soul. When you finally speak to the part of you that sabotages your goals, you might discover it's not trying to destroy you, it's trying to protect you from failure, from exposure, from heartbreak, from your own brilliance. This is the secret. Your shadow is not evil. It is frightened, it is exiled, and like any banished child, it only grows more dangerous the longer it is ignored. But once seen, it becomes something else entirely. It becomes your purpose's companion. It becomes the fire that propels you forward, not because you are perfect, but because you are whole. So when you descend into the dark, you do not lose your way, you begin to find it. Because the descent isn't the end, it's the door. It's not enough to know your darkness, it's not enough to integrate it, to feel it, or even to love it. At some point, you have to do something with it. Carl Jung understood that the inner world, as rich and symbolic as it may be, must eventually meet the outer world through action. Otherwise, we are simply collecting insights with no transformation. As he put it, you are what you do, not what you say you'll do. This is not a command to act impulsively or recklessly. Rather, it is a reminder that integration means nothing until it is embodied, until it shows itself in how you speak, how you choose, how you respond when life resents you. Too many people treat healing as a form of avoidance. They think that understanding their pain is the end of the journey. But the shadow is not just a mystery to explore, it is energy. And if that energy is not directed, it festers. Knowing that your anger hides a deeper wound is only useful if you now act from that knowledge, if you set boundaries, speak your truth, and stop performing for acceptance. Real healing does not make you passive, it makes you precise. It reclaims the power that was once turned against you and teaches you how to use it with clarity. But here lies the paradox. Acting on your shadow work can feel far more terrifying than exploring your inner world. It is easier to have deep thoughts than to make difficult choices. It is easier to read about your wounds than to express your desires in real relationships. Many people spend years in reflection, never realizing that they are waiting for some invisible moment of complete readiness before they live. Jung would say this moment never comes. Life is not waiting to give you permission. It is waiting for you to commit. Your purpose cannot be theorized into existence. It must be risked. That is the true challenge of shadow integration. To act from your full self, not just your curated self. When you begin to take action based on who you really are, on what your shadow has taught you, you may lose friends, you may disappoint family, you may outgrow entire environments that once felt safe. But this is not regression, it is evolution. Jung wrote often about the loneliness of becoming whole. He knew that the journey of individuation, of becoming an authentic individual rather than a socially constructed persona, would set you apart from the herd. But it is precisely in this separation that your true voice begins to form. The most powerful lives are not those with the fewest wounds. They are the ones who learn to channel their wounds into something meaningful. The artist who paints not to be seen, but to reveal what has never been spoken. The teacher who speaks not from superiority, but from the pain of having once been lost. The parent who raises their child, not with perfection, but with the wisdom of their own unparented inner child. All of these are forms of shadow work made visible. They are not glamorous, they are not always celebrated, but they are real. They give your existence weight. And it is in this weight that you begin to feel meaning, not as a grand epiphany, but as a quiet inner alignment. You start to realize that your life, in all its mess and contradiction, is not broken, it's becoming. That your envy was a signal of a life unlived. That your sadness was your soul mourning what it abandoned. That your restlessness was not dysfunction, but the intuition that you are not yet where you belong. And once you hear that signal, once you stop silencing it with excuses or distractions, you have no choice but to move, to act, to try. That action might look like writing the book you were afraid to begin. It might be leaving a relationship that drains you. It might be speaking an unpopular truth. Or it might be something no one sees, something quiet, like telling the truth in your journal for the first time in your life. The size of the action does not matter. What matters is that it's real, that it's yours, that it emerges from the full spectrum of who you are, not the mask, not the persona, but the integration of the parts you once feared. As you act from this place, a new kind of momentum begins to form, one that is not fueled by ego, but by wholeness. Life may not become easier, but it will become truer, and that truth is what gives you the strength to keep going even when it hurts, even when you fail, because now you know that you are living your life, not someone else's version of it. Jung's great insight was not just that we are split between light and shadow, but that we can live from both, that our purpose is not to be saints, but to be real, and it is only through action, risked, imperfect, vulnerable, that we reveal who we truly are. Fear is the final gatekeeper. Even after we've explored our shadow, even after we've named our wounds, and even after we've mapped the outline of our authentic path, fear remains, not as a mistake, but as a test. Carl Jung never framed fear as something to be conquered or erased. Instead, he treated it as a teacher. Where your fear is, there is your task, he wrote. And in that single sentence, he offered one of the most profound spiritual truths of the modern age. Fear is not the enemy of purpose, it is its compass. Whatever you most avoid, whatever you delay, rationalize, or pretend doesn't matter, is often the very thing that would bring your life the deepest meaning. Why? Because your shadow doesn't just hold anger or envy or repression, it holds your power. And fear is the emotion that tells you something important is hidden beneath the surface. Fear surrounds the doors you are meant to open. But modern life has trained us to treat fear as a stop sign. We associate fear with danger, embarrassment, failure. We think fear is a signal to retreat, to wait until we feel more confident or more prepared. But Jung understood that fear is often a disguise, a mask worn by the unconscious to keep you safe from transformation. Because transformation is threatening. It means something must die. Your old identity, your comfort zone, your illusion of control. The ego resists change with everything it has. It tells you that you are not ready, not worthy, not strong enough. It whispers that you will be rejected, humiliated, exposed. And yet, behind that whisper, something else is calling. A voice less polished but more ancient. It does not promise success. It does not guarantee safety. It only says, go. That voice is the soul. To listen to that voice, you must make peace with fear, not by eliminating it, but by bringing it into the conversation. Jung himself often dialogued with the figures that appeared in his dreams, many of which terrified him. He did not destroy them. He asked them questions. He wanted to know what they meant. This is a model for how we can treat fear, not as a wall to break through, but as a symbol to decode. Ask yourself, what am I afraid of and why? What is the worst thing that could happen if I acted on this desire? What are the real risks and what are the imagined ones? Often, you'll discover that the fear you feel is not actually about danger, but about identity. You're afraid that taking action will change who you are, or how others see you, and that's exactly the point. Action from your shadow-integrated self is not designed to protect your current identity. It is designed to evolve it. Think about what you long to do but haven't dared. Start a new creative path. Speak a truth you've silenced. End a pattern of self-abandonment. The longer you wait, the more fear grows. But the moment you move, something shifts. Not because the fear disappears, but because it no longer owns you. You act with it, through it, alongside it, and in doing so, you reclaim a piece of yourself. This is why Jung did not view fear as a failure of character. He saw it as a map. If you trace your fears to their source, you'll almost always find a story you've been telling yourself about why you are not allowed to live fully. Fear reveals your limiting beliefs, and once revealed, they can be rewritten. But rewriting is not abstract. It requires experience. It requires proof. Only through doing do you teach your nervous system that you can survive discomfort. Only through action do you begin to trust that your fears are not prophecies. They are challenges, thresholds to pass through, not signs to turn back. If you want your life to mean something, if you want to feel the inner certainty that you are living as who you truly are, then you must follow the thread of fear. Not every fear, but the ones that return again and again, the ones that haunt your quiet moments and show up in your dreams. These are not accidents. They are invitations. They are the soul's way of pointing to your next becoming. Fear is not the end. It is the final teacher. It shows you the edge of your current self, and purpose begins where that self ends. Even after all the integration, after all the action, and even after facing your deepest fears, life will still hurt. It will disappoint you. It will confront you with losses, rejections, and moments of unbearable doubt. This is not a flaw in your journey. It is the final ingredient of meaning. As Jung wrote, even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. We are not here to be immune to suffering. We are here to develop a conscious relationship with it. Pain is inevitable. But suffering, long-term, soul-wrenching suffering, often comes from resisting what is, from refusing to accept what has already happened, from clinging to who we once were, or mourning who we never became. But Jung believed that even these experiences could become transformative, if we accept them fully and let them speak. When life collapses around you, it doesn't mean your purpose is gone. It means something in you is being refined. Because pain, when faced with consciousness, becomes a tool of individuation. It shatters your illusions about control. It forces you to ask deeper questions. What still matters when everything else falls away? What truth remains when comfort is gone? What part of you survives every death? This is where true meaning lives, not in avoiding the dark, but in walking through it without letting it define you. To integrate the shadow is to make peace with your contradictions. But to integrate suffering is to make peace with reality. To accept that you're not here to win every time. You are here to witness your own becoming, across failure, across regret, across all the unexpected paths that take you far from the life you thought you wanted. Suffering does not make you weaker. It makes you see what truly sustains you. And in that realization, many people find that their purpose is not some external achievement. It's not being famous, admired, or successful by society's standards. Their purpose becomes internal, to be whole, to be real, to be present with what is. And from that space, meaningful external actions still emerge. Authentic relationships, creative expression, spiritual depth. but these are now byproducts of wholeness, not desperate attempts to prove worth. This is the quiet truth Jung uncovered through decades of inner exploration. Your purpose is not a destination. It's a process, a dance between light and dark, between knowing and not knowing, between trying and surrendering. And in this dance, your unique story is written, not by perfection, but by persistence. Think of the moments in your life that shaped you the most. Were they easy? Were they clean and logical? Or were they the moments you thought you wouldn't survive, when you were broken, lost, or betrayed? Those moments didn't just test you, they revealed you. They showed you who you really are beneath the surface, and who you are in those moments, when you choose to stay conscious, when you refuse to go numb, when you hold onto your integrity even in the dark. That's the self from which your purpose is born. Jung believed that we must each live out the story of our own soul. No one else can define it. No system, no religion, no family legacy can give it to you. And it will not always be glamorous. Sometimes your purpose will look like holding a boundary that no one understands. Sometimes it will mean walking away from everything familiar. Sometimes it will mean staying when every part of you wants to run. But in each of those moments, you reclaim something sacred, your authenticity. This is the final stage of shadow integration. Not just knowledge, not just action, but acceptance. The acceptance of life as it is. The willingness to keep showing up, not because you're guaranteed success, but because you've realized that the journey itself is meaningful. That your mistakes are part of your masterpiece. That your darkness does not disqualify you from light. It gives it depth. So if you're suffering, if you're afraid, if you feel lost, good. You're in the right place. You're on the path. And the path is never straight. It spirals, it doubles back, it breaks you open. But every turn, every scar, every descent into the unknown, if you stay conscious through it, brings you closer to yourself. And that is what purpose truly means, to live a life that is fully yours, shadow and all. Because when you finally accept your wholeness, your darkness, your light, your desires, your wounds, your capacity to destroy and create, you become someone no one can imitate. You become real, and there is nothing more powerful or more meaningful than that.